Hey guys, I'm Keegan. Welcome to my channel and to this video. So you probably clicked on it because you are thinking of buying a new mirrorless camera. I can probably help you choose one right now, especially if you're a beginner. And what I'm gonna suggest is probably something you haven't even considered yet. That, my friends, would be the Sony a7 II. Yep, this is the 2, not the 3, the 2. And I'll tell you right now why I'm suggesting this camera. Let's go over there and talk about it a bit. Okay, well, I know what you're thinking. This camera is freaking ancient. Yes, I know. It came out in 2014. 2000. Yeah, it's old, especially in camera years, especially because camera brands now are releasing new models almost every year. But wait, let me give you a few reasons why you shouldn't spend $2,000 or $3,000 on a brand new model or a brand new camera. Oh, it's ugly. No alcohol. What else can we put up there? A lens. One more pushover. Ah. Let's go with that. Okay, so what was I saying? Oh yeah. Why you shouldn't be spending $2,000 or $3,000 on a brand new camera. If you're just getting into videography or photography, you're gonna love this camera just to start developing your skills. I should say that I am not in any way sponsored by Sony. I am actually filming this on a Canon EOS R. I use both brands, and I started on this one. I love it, and I've learned everything I know about photography and videography on it. And now, this a7 II is still staying with me as my trusty backup. So the first reason, and probably the main reason that I suggest you buy this camera, is because it's so cheap for what it does, for its capabilities. If we look at Best Buy, you can buy this camera for $1,600 with a lens, and that's brand new. That's not even thinking about the used market. Let's actually check out the used market right now. Sony a7 II body, $700. And considering what I'm going to tell you about the camera next, that's actually a steal. And plus, if you save money on a body, you can use the extra money on lenses, which in my opinion are a way better investment, because those lenses you can use when you upgrade your body. Huh? Okay, so now that we got the money out of the way, what for the price are you getting in this body? First, I'll talk about the resolution. You're getting a 24 megapixel sensor in this camera, and that's opposed to the a7S II, which is 12 megapixels. It's better for low light, videography especially, and the a7R III or 2, which is 42 megapixels. Now, a lot of pro photographers use those cameras because they're getting extra sharpness out of the photos. This one is kind of a balance between both. It's a jack of all trades. That's kind of why it's a bit cheaper too. It's not excelling at either one of them, which is why I think it's great for beginners. It gives you a chance to try out both before you really decide what you like. And speaking of sharpness, Sony's lenses are also pretty nice. They're G Master lenses, the Zeiss lenses, and all the ones underneath, like the 50mm, 1.8. All those lenses are quite sharp. Sony's doing a really good job with their lenses, so I have no complaints. Okay, let's go talk about autofocus a little bit. Autofocus is one of the technologies that camera makers really like to constantly improve with every model. Of course, they have to. It's very competitive business. So yeah, newer models, definitely the autofocus has been improved. However, what I can tell you is the autofocus on this camera is quite the beast. This camera has both single autofocus and continuous focus. So single autofocus means you half press this shutter and it focuses once and locks that focus in. And continuous autofocus, when you hold down the shutter halfway, it locks onto a subject or an object, and as you move it around the frame, it keeps focus on it. This camera does both, and what I can say is it's pretty quick, especially if you're using native lenses, which means a Sony lens that you just put on without an adapter. The autofocus is quick, it's accurate. There's one thing I should tell you about, is eye autofocus. This camera has it, but it doesn't have it in continuous autofocus mode. In single autofocus mode, you can lock onto someone's eye. So if you're shooting portraits or subjects, people who aren't really moving much, you can set one of these buttons on the back to lock onto someone's eye. And as it locks on, hit the shutter, take a picture. Okay, let's talk about low light. So I can't go on without talking a little bit about Sony's low light capabilities. Sony cameras have always had this like magic power where you can bring a photo into Lightroom and raise the exposure or raise the shadows and recover detail in some spots that you really didn't think possible. It's pretty crazy. And I can't tell you how many times in a concert or an event that has saved my ass. I didn't really worry too much because I knew in Lightroom I would be able to bring up the exposure without losing detail. Okay, let's talk a little bit about image stabilization. Sony put image stabilization in this model. This was the first one to get it, in body, IBIS for short. What's great about IBIS is that if you have a lens that is not stabilized, then IBIS comes into place and stabilizes your shots for you. If you're shooting video, you're gonna be able to get rid of those jitters if you're doing handheld. So what else? Slow motion. So the A7 II shoots at 60 frames per second at 1080p. And that's just enough to get you into the world of slow motion. I think 60 frames per second is really great. I use it all the time in my videos, and I use it specifically when I know I'll be using speed ramps to slow down and speed up the footage when I need. So have I convinced you yet? If not, that's okay, you do you. But if I have, and you do decide that you want to buy an A7 II, that's fantastic. I'm really glad I could help you out with that. If you're gonna buy it new, then you have nothing more to do. Head to the store, pick it up, you're good to go. But if you do decide to go the used route, let me help you out a little bit. Let me give you a couple of tips. I bought my A7 II used. The first thing you want to make sure is obviously give it a look over, a physical look over. Make sure that there's no huge dings or scratches, especially on the screen. Check the sensor. Open it up, take a look at the sensor, and look for any kind of scratches or spots on the sensor itself. Next, shutter count, very important. Sony rates these cameras as being able to shoot about 200,000 photos. I would suggest maybe not getting the camera if the shutter count of the camera is at about 150,000, because that might only give you a year or two of time with it. You know, some cameras go over 200,000, some go less. So just to give you an idea of how many pictures you can take in a year, I took about just over 22,000 photos with just this camera in 2019. And that's from some traveling, some local events I've shot, local portraits. And I'm not fully pro because I do video and everything, and I do audio on films. So as a semi-pro, I shot about 22,000. And remember, if you're not feeling comfortable, if you don't think that the camera's been treated well, don't be afraid to just walk away from the purchase. Just because you showed up doesn't mean you have to buy it. No, that's all. So, until next time, thank you very much for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, ring that bell for me, and I will catch you on the flip side.